Hey, what is up, you guys? My name is Jess, and welcome back to Planted Hippie. Welcome back to another planty video, you guys. Today I am going to be doing my monthly houseplant favorites for the month of May. So if that does interest you, I please ask that you stick around, leave a like, maybe even a comment down below, or even hitting that subscribe bell so that you are notified every time I upload a new video, and to help me keep on planting. Please also don't forget to follow me on Instagram at planted.hippie, where I post new planty photos and occasionally reels daily. So with that, let's get into this month's houseplant favorites. Alrighty, so I first want to apologize for sort of a belated houseplant favorites for this month because I've just been super busy. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you will know that I just had another litter of kittens, and unfortunately my beautiful mama cat Luna ended up having to have a C-section, and this is a first time thing for me through my almost 6 years of breeding. I have never had to have a C-section for any one of my mama cats, and it was a very scary and quite honestly traumatizing experience because it's just one of those touch and go things where you don't know what's gonna happen. And it's a major surgery, so I was very worried about my mama cat as well as the kittens that were still inside of her. And luckily, great news, she ended up doing super well during her C-section, and all of her kittens except for one little rainbow kitten ended up being born into the world. And the vets believe that the kitten that did not make it had passed away sometime during development and actually could have caused what was the real problem in her uterus, which was an infection, and they believe that is what was causing her to not be able to deliver the babies, and that was the reason for the C-section. So luckily everyone is okay, and since bringing her home, they did have to have some time apart just so the first few days of Luna healing, the babies weren't kind of scratching or trying to suckle on around her C-section incision. And if you know anything about cats, you'll know that some cats either reject their litter of kittens, or they may forget that they even had kittens, or they assume that they passed away if they don't have kittens nursing on them right away. And that was sort of scary to come to the realization that she could not want anything to do with her kittens. But luckily, she is such an amazing mother cat, and this is actually her 4th litter, so I had really high hopes that she would accept the kittens back after a few days of being on her own and being able to heal properly, at least for those first sort of crucial 72 hours. And luckily, she did end up accepting her kittens back on day 3, but the vet did let me know that she was not producing very substantial amount of milk, so I have been having to bottle feed all of the kittens since day 1, and they are actually a week old today, so I will be taking their 1 week photos for my page on Instagram, Dreamcatcher Ragdolls. So I have been having to supplement the kittens myself by feeding them their own formula and doing that day and night every 2 hours, so I am a bit sleep deprived. And luckily, now that they are a week old today, the feedings can get a little bit more spaced out in between because they are eating a lot more every day and gaining weight amazingly. One of the kittens did unfortunately stop eating on me, and I had to take him back to the vet to get some tips and pointers, and they actually showed me how to tube feed the kitten, which is all in itself another sort of scary and stressful thing because if done incorrectly, you can end up doing a lot more harm than good. But luckily, I took to it really fast, and even more luckily, I didn't even have to do it for that long because after about 3 days of assisting him through tube feeding, I think I got him strong enough to have a very strong suckle, and he ended up getting back on the bottle like the rest of the kittens, and that has made feeding the kittens and like having feeding time a lot quicker because I don't have to load up another separate syringe, and you do have to do the tube feeding relatively slower because you are going directly into their stomach and you don't want to inflate that balloon basically too quickly, and you have to do it in a certain amount because if they do end up having too much formula in their stomach, they can either have bloat or end up throwing up, which for kittens is very, very bad. And they can aspirate themselves, which means the formula can go into their lungs and they can essentially drown. So it is a very, very scary process, but I am very grateful to the vet for showing me how to tube feed because I can in the future utilize that technique if I ever do have another kitten that just doesn't want to suckle on the bottle. We can intervene and do the tube feeding to get them strong enough down the line and eventually get them back on feeding off a bottle. And I am just super grateful to both of my vets. I had to take Luna to my main vet to have the emergency C-section, and since they are not a 24-hour around-the-clock animal hospital, I had to transfer her across the street, luckily not very far, to the emergency vet, where she did stay overnight initially that first night to receive IV antibiotics and fluids and just make sure that she was stable directly after surgery. And I was able to pick her up the next day, and she has done nothing but thrive ever since. She's getting her antibiotic twice a day, which she's almost done with, and some pain meds to manage any of the pain associated with her surgery. And she actually took her last dose of that pain med today, so luckily we just have to finish out her antibiotic, and hopefully by next week she will be ready to go back to our main vet to be rechecked and potentially get her stitches out of her incision, and she will be all good to go. I am super grateful that animals in general, dogs, cats, lots of different types of animals, are just so resilient. If you think about like even humans who have C-sections, I know you're walking around and doing all the things within a few hours after C-section, but it is a much longer recovery period when compared to Luna, who is now just only 7 days post-op and is acting like she never went through a very serious surgery. So I am just so grateful that she is able to be so strong and was very resilient, and I'm just so happy that I did not lose my beautiful girl. And I am very happy to show you guys the kittens today, but that will be later on in the video, so they will be my last favorite, I guess, for the day. And I guess that's a little teaser, so if you are interested in seeing the kittens, they are going to be my number 5 spot for the favorites video, so I will be showing them off. And they are so adorable and so cute. They are, again, 1 week old today. So if you have not seen little itty bitty baby kittens, this will be a treat to you guys and a little bit more into my life to show you guys what I do. And I'm just, again, super grateful that the kittens are all doing well, gaining a lot of weight every day. They have to gain a certain amount of weight each day to be able to grow and hit those certain milestones. So I'm very happy to report that they are indeed gaining the weight that they need to, and everyone is suckling very strongly on their bottles and growing every day. So I did just want to give you guys a heads up and a little update on why I've been a little MIA on Instagram here and there, and then also a little bit late uploading this favorites video. So with all of that explained and out of the way, I do want to go ahead and get into our first plant for the day. If you guys saw my latest video of my plant updates, I did go ahead and mention and show off this cute little new Anthurium veitchii that I got recently. And if you saw my original plant tour, you'll know that I had a Anthurium veitchii originally, but I ended up root rotting that one somehow. It just croaked on me one day. I don't know really what happened. I had that plant for nearly 2 years. It would have been 2 years in September, so a little sad that it didn't thrive the way I intended it to, especially like my luxurians that I got in the same trip during that time. So I don't really know what happened with that veitchii, but luckily my Ace Hardware locally down the street had these little itty bitty baby Anthurium veitchii, and if you guys can believe it, I got this Anthurium veitchii for $5. I'm honestly not sure how I got it for $5. and I'm guessing the cashier may have made an oopsie and entered the wrong price in, because I swore there was a sign above them that said $40. And yeah, I guess I got really lucky, and I'm not the type of person to go back into a store and be like, actually you rang me up wrong. I'm gonna take the universe for its little gift that it gave me. So I am super grateful that I ended up finding basically a replacement for that VGI, and hopefully this one will do a lot better in my care. It does seem like a lot more like initially seed grown, whereas my other one I think was like a chunk from a chunk cutting that I then separated and then had growing on its own for a while. So maybe that'll make the difference in the growth. This one also seems a little bit more wider, whereas the other one I believe was a narrow form VGI. So yeah, I am basically just learning from this plant all over again and trying to make sure that it is happy and I don't make another VGI croak. So I am super happy that I was able to find again another replacement, and hopefully she is doing well. She does have some nice green roots in the substrate, sort of coming onto the surface and then making their way down into the pot. So I'm very happy to report that I again have another beautiful Anthurium veitchii. So I will definitely keep you guys updated on how she continues to grow out for me. She was putting out this leaf when I first bought her, like it was very floppy, and I did want to purchase one that I knew was actively growing and doing well. So it may be a little while until the next leaf ends up coming out, but that is perfectly okay. And again, I'll keep you guys updated on how she continues to develop, because if I do this one right, hopefully we can get this Anthurium veitchii huge within the next couple of years. So yeah, that was our first plant for the day, my Anthurium veitchii. Alrighty, so for the next plant, it is a new plant to my collection, and if you guys know me, you know I absolutely love ficus. This ficus in particular is different from any of the other Elastica family ficus that I have, and I'm really excited to show you guys this ficus because it is just so different, and I do know it is a more popular ficus to have in the home, and it does really well inside, whereas other ficus may kind of struggle without getting the proper sunlight indoors than it would receive outdoors. So without further ado, it's so cute! This is the variegated ficus benjamina. So this is 3 separate little chunks of ficus benjamina, and I was inspired to get this ficus benjamina because of our friend on Instagram, Rob's Plants. He is a cactus and succulent collector, but also kind of specializes in doing bonsai trees, and he has a variegated ficus benjamina just like this one, and he bonsai'd it. I'm gonna leave up some of the photos from his Instagram of his bonsai'd ficus benjamina. So he graciously and super nicely sent me a bunch of tips and tricks on how to bonsai the ficus. So I am going to be taking one of the trunks here. He suggested the smallest ones, so I may use this one here to separate from the other part of the tree and start my first bonsai tree ever. So the rest of the plant, the 2 more thicker trunks, I'm gonna just leave on their own and let grow into a nice big full tree one day. And I'm really hoping that it will be a really cute and beautiful big tree for me to decorate my house with, because it is a more indoor ficus. And hopefully I'll be able to do the bonsai trunk justice, and I will definitely keep you guys updated on how I do that. I may even make a video on how I pot it up, because Rob did send a bunch of information and tips on how to get the bonsai started, and it looks like a really scary process because you kind of have to cut the tree back completely bare basically, and there's a certain way you have to lay the roots in the pot and certain substrate you need to use, as well as using a bonsai pot as well. So I'm just super excited to share this plant with you all. It is so cute and so like different than any other ficus I have, even though the variegation on them is just super beautiful. You can see on some of them they are just super unique and pretty. It has a lot of beautiful growth coming in because it's in my western facing window on my dining room table, and it is just loving life. So yeah, I will obviously keep you guys updated on what I end up doing with this girl and how the bonsai process goes. But I am just so ecstatic to show you guys this beautiful plant. So yeah, that was our second plant on the list today, my variegated ficus benjamina. Alrighty, for my next plant, if you do follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that I recently posted about it, and a lot of you really loved the look of this particular succulent. And the plant I'm talking about is my bear paw succulent. It has just been exploding in growth lately. If you can see now, she is just an absolute beast. I want to zoom in on the foliage because this is why it does get its name bear paw succulent. You can see that the tips of the little succulent leaves are like little bear paws. And this is a very popular succulent for that reason. It is just so cute, and it is honestly starting to like trail, which I didn't think it would. But I did sort of rotate it so that it would hopefully come back this way because it is just super leaning to this side of the pot. But I did feature it on my Instagram because I just looked at it one day and I was like, when did you get that big? Like so huge. It is very, very cool to watch, and they also have like a nice little fuzz to them, which I'm sure adds to the bear paw name. And I have just been super impressed with the explosive amount of growth it has been giving me lately, and we are not even into full summertime yet, so I'm just expecting even more amazing growth from this beautiful succulent. It does stay on my cactus station in my western facing window, and she seems to really love it. And she also has a grow light on that station for when the sun does go down. It gets a few more extra hours of sunlight. And I think it really appreciates that spot because I haven't really moved this succulent around ever since getting it. I've always had it in that window and it has done nothing but thrive for me. So I definitely had to give this beautiful succulent a shout out today because she is just so beautiful and I have been so impressed with her. So I will keep you guys updated on how she does continue to grow throughout the summer. Maybe I will check in at the end of summer to do a little comparison photo and see how much she grew during the summer. So I, again, really wanted to mention this beautiful plant because of its massive growth and super beautiful transformation from being just a tiny little plug succulent to now being a fully established beautiful plant. And that is, again, the reason why I wanted to mention her. So that was our third plant for the day, my bear paw succulent. Alrighty, for the last plant on our list today, before I go ahead and show you the very last favorite, which will be the kittens, I did mention in my last video that the Burle Marx flame in my cabinet had rotted for the 4th time, and I actually reached out to the nursery that I did purchase it from, which was Perfect Choice down in Southwest Ranches area, and I was sort of just asking them like if they had any pointers for me on how to save the plant. And amazingly, the Perfect Choice page put me in contact with their dad, which is Aroy Dad on Instagram, and he ended up offering me a complete replacement for that plant. And I could not be more thrilled with the outcome of this whole ordeal. I obviously was very sad that I was losing such an expensive, beautiful plant, and to have such a amazing business owner be able to correct the situation for me, and not only that, but just be so generous with the replacement plant he ended up sending me. I am just super indebted again to Perfect Choice, and I cannot wait to make my way down there again later this year whenever we hopefully attend the International Aroid Show again. And we always make a stop at Perfect Choice on the way home, and I am super excited to share with you all that he did indeed send me a replacement plant after the Memorial Day weekend. And without further ado, oh my gosh, you guys, can you believe this? It is so freaking beautiful and mature. Look at those fenestrations. This is what my plant never really did for me. It never really thrived or grew into anything other than those really immature leaves. And even since having it since last September, I only got 2 leaves out of it, and probably because it was just always focusing on growing out its roots because it kept root rotting on me. And I am just so freaking blown away by this beautiful plant. I am, again, so in amazement and shock that they even offered a replacement plant to begin with, and to have such a beautiful specimen come in the mail. I could not be more excited or thrilled to try again with this plant, and hopefully it goes much better this time. It does have a little root poking out of the bottom, which makes me a little nervous because when I got it, it was perfectly beautiful and white, and it is now starting to sort of brown on the tip. And that is sort of what happened with the first Burle Marx that I got. It had a beautiful, really juicy white root coming out of it for the longest time, and then one day it just decided to turn black and shrivel up, and that was the first experience of root rot when I had it. But I am not gonna do anything. I'm just sort of gonna leave it alone and do what they told me to do, which is just put it in a high humid area and let it settle in my new space, and then we will deal with that little nub sticking out later. So I did not want to go ahead and take it out and disturb it to try and get that root back into the pot, because it did just ship and I don't want to add any extra stress to it. But I am just so in awe that they sent me such a mature and beautiful replacement plant. So yeah, I could not be more thrilled with this experience. Perfect Choice is just such an amazing company and nursery, and they have the most amazing plants, which is pretty much all that matters. But to have such an amazing team of people willing to work with me was just an even bigger kudos to them, because they did not have to send me any replacement or even offer. So I was just totally blown away that they offered and then sent me this beautiful plant. Can you believe that? That is so amazing. So mature already. I can't wait for it to give me even more leaves. And she does look kind of pregnant, so that's always cute. You can kind of see there, so maybe there'll be another leaf here shortly in my future. And yeah, I am just super blown away by this beautiful plant. I cannot believe again that I have it and that I get to try again. And again, I am super thankful to Perfect Choice, and I will obviously keep you guys updated on how she does with me. Knock on wood that nothing bad happens to this one, and I will be babying this one forevermore. So I definitely had to include this beautiful new plant on our favorites list today, because again, I am just so over the moon about it. I get to try again, and hopefully this time it goes a lot better. So that was our last and 4th plant for the day, so now we can move on to showing you all the kittens. Alrighty, as promised, I did want to show you guys the kittens. I do have to take them sort of one by one, and I may just end up taking this one because if I take them all at the same time, Mama may not be happy with me. She does not like them being moved around. But for this kitten that I'm about to show you, this is the one I had to tube feed, so he is a little bit smaller than everyone else. Only by about 20 grams they have a difference, because they had such a big head start on him where he did not eat for that about 12-hour period, and he did lose a little bit of weight, but he is on the rebound and doing much better now. And I did want to go ahead and show you one of the kittens. They all relatively look the same, so you're not missing out on not seeing them all. I just don't want to upset Mama by taking all 3 of her babies out here and leaving her in her room all alone without her babies. And this one is a little bit more used to being handled by me, since we were doing the one-on-one tube feeding, so he is a bit more quiet whenever I pick him up, so I knew I wasn't going to disturb Mama by taking him out. But without further ado, see if we can focus on him. This is little Gray, and I just call him Gray because of his little gray collar. And he is a little boy. We have 2 boys and 1 girl, so You guys can see they are just so itty bitty babies, and as well he is nice and plump and amazing, and I have him wrapped up in a little blanket because keeping little baby kittens warm is vital and crucial. But I definitely wanted to show you guys my biggest favorite of the month, which is obviously my little kittens. I'm so thankful and grateful that they ended up all being okay, and it was a very stressful and scary time, but I luckily was able to step in and help Mama feed them, and continuing to feed them. It is actually, the alarm for feeding actually just went off, so that's probably why he's a little squirmy. He's hungry, so I will be taking them to eat after I'm done filming, and I am just so ecstatic to share this all with you. I know some people may not care about the kittens, but it is a huge part of my life, and this is what I choose to do with all of my time. And this has just been the best ending and outcome for such a scary situation. It really does bring everything into perspective, and it makes all of the sleepless nights and worrying about them so worth it when they start to thrive like this. And again, I am just so grateful that little man here is doing well, and he is so hungry, so I'm gonna go ahead and take him back to get ready for a feeding. But that does bring us to the end of today's video. I did go ahead and put little Gray back so he wasn't squirming around while I did my outro, and I'll be doing their feeding right after this, so I gotta make this quick. But I so do appreciate you if you stuck all the way to the end, and if you did, I please ask that you leave a like, a comment down below, or even hitting that subscribe bell so that you are notified every time I upload a new video, and to help me keep on planting. Please also don't forget to follow me on Instagram at planted.hippie, where I post new planty photos and occasionally reels daily. So with that, I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys!